Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
All right, welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I'm Coach David Syvertsen here with Dr. and Coach Sam Rhee. I have two very special guests. We have Matt and Nicole Milone. All right, some of you guys I actually met Nicole when her last name was Ninomaya. All right, and Matt's always been Matt Milone. I competed with Matt and Nicole a couple of different times. Once was for a team that made regionals in 2018. That was the last regionals CrossFit ever had. And then a year later, we competed on a team in France at the French Throwdown. And we've also been pretty strong friends outside of the gym. And here we are. We are now probably 4 years later, still pretty good friends. We just had a workout. I really think ahead with this stuff when we have guests on the podcast. I created a workout that I knew Matt would do really well in, and Nicole would crush it as well. And I let him beat me in the workout so that his morale was very high coming into the podcast. People speak better when they're more confident. So you're welcome, Matt, for that.
Yeah.
And, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast.
Throw me a bone.
Thanks for having us.
That'll be the next time that we come on.
What a sacrifice, Dave. Nice job.
All right, so we're going to have these guys on for a couple of episodes, but number one is going to be the team versus individual competing / training. Both of these guys, not to blow them up too much, I'm going to have them intro themselves a little bit. They're both very high-level athletes. I've told them this in the past, both personally and publicly. They're the two best athletes I've ever competed with, and I would actually put them in that elite tier. I don't put myself there. I put them in the elite tier, and it was awesome to train with them, compete with them. They've both competed at the team level at the regionals multiple times, and they've also competed by themselves at events like Wodapalooza, Granite Games, and it's just, they're awesome people to learn from, just their actions, not only their words. Before we go into what we want to talk about, we'll have Nicole go first. I don't want to make these intros too long, so how about you just kind of give us why and when did you start CrossFit, and why are you still doing it?
Yeah, I started in, I think it was 2015. I was still in college. I really started just because I was playing soccer in college and I wanted kind of like something to go along with it in the off season. And then I found out there was competition, so I started doing competitions, and then found out you can make money during competitions. And then just really enjoyed the whole competition aspect of it, and like going into class and training for something. So that kind of just like catapulted the whole competition like career, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
2016, is that when we started Spot? 2016, that's kind of when Matt and I started dating. Yeah. And
At the gym?
yeah, well, we met at a competition,
Yeah.
but then Matt reached out, asked me. So there was a team in New York City that was looking for an extra girl. Matt knew I competed. A long story short, started there. And then that's kind of where it really started with the elite level competition, like trying for regionals and teams. And I didn't even know that was like a thing. And then we just kind of kept going along in the city, and then we ended up at Coliseum.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else you have to add?
Yeah, so real quick before I just start talking about myself, Dave, don't sell yourself short. You're on the elite level, and I don't see myself as an elite individual. I think all my strengths are brought out in like a team aspect.
For sure, yeah.
So I don't think I can like hang at the elite individual level, but I appreciate the compliment.
No problem.
So I started, so I don't know if you know this, but it was my senior year of high school, so 2010, yes, a long time ago. Me and my buddy Ryan, we were doing main site workouts.
Awesome.
Like CrossFit.com.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I think like that's like back in 2010, I didn't know anything else. I kind of just stumbled across this. I was always into working out, and we had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah.
We grabbed a basketball and filled it with sand, and we're like, we got a medicine ball. Like, let's do wall. Like, when I say form, I don't know how we're not broken in half.
Yeah.
Like, we were just doing dumb stuff, but I loved
awesome.
it. I mean, I always loved like pushing myself in the gym. So that's kind of how I started CrossFit, I guess. But really in a box was like 2014, like spring semester of college.
Okay.
I'm like, let's try this CrossFit thing. I need to stay competitive. I was, competing in sports my whole life growing up. I jumped in there and just caught the bug, I guess, kind of like anyone that's probably listening to this. And then, kind of like Nicole said, I was graduated 2014, got a job in the city, and I found a gym, CrossFit Spot in the Upper West Side.
Is that where Carrie Pierce was originally?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The stars kind of just aligned there, and a lot of I guess you could say elite team athletes kind of got together, and that's where it all started. 2016, actually, we were 4, I think. 4
One
points
spot.
out.
No.
Yeah, well, no.
One
4,
spot,
4
yeah.
points. You know how like CrossFit scoring
Yeah.
works?
Yep.
But yeah, we finished, I think, 16th, and they took 15 teams or 21st.
So you
to
finished
20.
4 spots out of regionals in 2000.
Four
No,
points.
4
4
points.
points,
We were
okay.
the first
Yeah,
team
right,
out.
right. Okay.
And, I mean, it's almost maybe a blessing we did get
Yeah.
put out because we would have. Yeah, obviously, I would have loved being there
Right.
in 2016, but we probably would have looked. You know,
Yeah, would have got your
like,
butt whooped.
I
yeah.
just learned
Yeah.
bar muscle ups,
Yeah.
like still doing like kip, not butterfly.
Yeah.
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 But
It was kind of better off.
So yeah, didn't mean to drag my intro, but that's
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
that's awesome. Yeah. So that's basically you guys have very similar backgrounds in that competitive athletes, wanted to keep training, wanted to still compete, got into CrossFit, and then hit the sport pretty hard, like hit the ground running right with it. It wasn't like you did CrossFit for a long time and then you're like, oh, maybe I'm good enough for the sport. You kind of wanted to hop right into it. So 2017 is when you started at Coliseum. That's a gym just over the border in New York, if anyone doesn't know, right by the Woodbury Commons, the outlets up there. And that was when 2017 regionals, I don't know if a lot of people know this, was a team of 6 back then. It was 3 guys and 3 girls, and then there was 1 guy alternate, 1 girl alternate. So technically your team was 8 people. And describe that experience, and then we'll kind of dive into some team training components. We'll go into the individual stuff later. But what was it like that training environment? It was you, Dan Dodd, Russ Scarnigi, if I'm saying his name. Scaringi, close. All right. Nicole, Elise, and the girl from Tom's River?
Kristen.
Kristen Graham. All right. So you had 3 really high-level guys, 3 really high-level girls. When did you guys start training together that January before the Open?
I think before that. I think it was that fall before. They reached out. They needed another guy and girl. And yeah, we were like, it was a lot going to the city. He was
Yeah.
still working in the city, right? Or did you switch to teaching? Well, I wasn't in college anymore, so it was a lot for me to keep going in the city.
Yeah.
So we're like, maybe it is a good switch. It's
Yeah.
closer. It wasn't really that close. But yeah, and we just, like, everyone got along so well. It was just a good time all being together.
How often did you guys train together per week?
We were up there. I mean, we honestly were following all of CrossFit's protocol. So come January, it was what
was
the
all
minimum was
weekend.
like. Yeah, it was definitely Saturday, Sundays, and I want to say at least once, sometimes twice during the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys were all coming from all different places.
Yeah.
So you guys were not all members at that gym. And we can say this real quick. Yeah, right. The rule back then was you didn't need to belong to the gym that you were competing with, but starting in January of that year, the calendar year, you had to prove that you were working there the majority of your week. So 3 or 4 days per week. And I remember when I was with you guys a year later, which we'll get into, we took pictures every single time you're there. We put them on Instagram, so they had timestamps, like all this stuff. It was, and there are teams that probably break those rules, right? You had teams that have athletes that live 4 hours away from each other. Somehow they're training together. But that environment right there, is that when you guys kind of went from, all right, we're pretty good at CrossFit to like, all right, we really saw our gains kind of increasing and multiplying simply because of the people you were around?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've been around it. Like, just
Yeah.
pushing each other and doing that every single time you're together, you're
Right.
bound to get, like, leaps better. I mean, just that environment alone. And then, yeah, we just wanted to, because, like Matt said, we missed out on regionals by a point or a spot the previous year. So we just wanted that so bad. And so did everyone. I don't think anyone else had been to regionals, right? Like, Elise hadn't been yet.
Russ did
He
as an
was?
individual when he was like out in Africa
Really?
or something. Yeah, like when he was in the military, he qualified as an
I think I
individual.
remember that.
Out
Yeah.
in like I don't even remember what that regional was, but yeah.
Nice. So how did regionals go that year?
What did we finish? I want to say
I don't even remember.
so. 30 teams went, and I know we did better the second year, but 21st.
So you were kind of there. You were never really
Like,
that close to qualifying
nah.
for the games, but you were on that level with a lot of the same athletes. All right. You have all these people coming from outside areas. Your first attempt at trying to make regionals, you miss out by 1 spot. Right. And
You guys were 15th that year.
15th.
Yeah, Coliseum strength. Yep.
there you go. Nice shot.
And then you were
Surprised.
12th the year after that.
yeah.
All right.
you go.
All right.
If we would have kept going a couple more years, come on,
Yeah.
CrossFit.
So it's the 15th of 2017. This is when things got a little weird with you guys. But before we get into what happened in 2018, you guys, did you ever compete individually throughout the year? Or once you got into this team environment, that was kind of like the addiction of like, hey, I always want to be on a team.
That was 2017. Yeah, that was the year. So after regionals, so Wodapalooza, I guess they called it 2018 that year because it happened in January.
Right.
I went individual that year to Wodapalooza, Don't ask me why, because competing on a team is so much more fun.
Yep.
I think I did the online qualifier for individual, and it was one of those things like, I think I finished like 15 spots out of qualifying. I'm like, all right, I guess that's out of the question. And then, long story short, between video reviews, people saying no, I guess, or going team, I got an invite, and I'm like, hey, like I'm gonna do this. Like I always, I guess, wanted to do like a higher level individual comp, and I was right after regionals, so I still was feeling good. I'm like, all right, let me go down and throw my hat in the ring.
That was your best year in the Open 2017. You finished 70th Northeast in 2017 and 727 worldwide in the Open that year. So that was your best performance to date.
Yeah, I guess that.
Now, so what when you say, like, let's touch on that a little bit. When you say team is so much more fun, and if you qualified somewhere on a team, you'd be like, we're going, let's go. Individual, you're kind of like, I guess I'll go. Like, I got the invite. What makes competing on a team more fun than the individual side?
Well, obviously, just first and foremost, the company. I mean, we giggle probably 90% of the time, other than when we're sucking wind out on the competition floor. But you just you have that like camaraderie, and you don't want to let the person down next to you. Mm-hmm. And kind of like I said from the beginning, like I don't think I'm an elite individual athlete, mm-hmm. but we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And
I would say this: you have elite traits. There are certain workouts you can be elite in, right? Like any sort of like fast squat, burpee, handstand push-up, muscle-up workout. And you've done that. I think Matt finished one of the open workouts in 2018, 5th in the world. Like, think about 5th in the world. That would be called an elite trait for that kind of workout. And you get to use that more on a team, whereas an individual, that kind of gets hidden by the fact that you have to do everything by yourself. So eventually the stuff that he's not good at or is not elite at, it bumps your overall rank down, right? Where you're on a team, if the workout is set up correctly, you have people on your team that can kind of counterbalance your strengths and weaknesses. You can really only use your strengths and just completely hide your weaknesses. That's part of what the advantage of competing on a team is.
Yes, although I do think competitions are getting a lot better at not letting teams hide weaknesses.
Agreed.
We've all experienced.
Agreed. Yeah. Touch on that a little bit.
I'm going to call us three out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Going to not her.
Yeah.
So the French Throwdown.
Yeah.
Squat clean workout. I think we know that Nicole's favorite and her best move and probably is a heavy squat clean.
Yep.
I mean, not anything against me, you or Elise, but we kind of just aren't as fast. So there's things like that. Like, okay, like each teammate, like you're going to do this. Like you're going to do the squat cleans. You're going to do the muscle ups.
Right.
Like it's not like, okay, Nicole, you go and do all the squat cleans and we'll do everything else.
Right.
Obviously, how competitions program certain events, you're going to get exposed no matter what.
So, just for example, I don't remember the rep scheme of that workout, but just in terms of what Matt's talking about, there was a workout at French Throwdown where everyone had to do, is it 12 muscle-ups?
It was, bar and ring.
Yeah. So basically, one guy had to do 12 ring muscle-ups and then 12 squat cleans at 245. One girl, and then there was another guy that had to do 12 bar muscle-ups, 12 squat cleans at 245. Same thing on the girl side. So only one person's working at a time, and you kind of have to be the ninja where you do the muscle-ups and the squat cleans. It's rare to see someone that can do both at a really high level. So if you're a lifter, awesome, you'll crush the barbell, maybe even go touch and go. There were athletes that were doing that, but they were not doing the muscle-ups unbroken. Vice versa. There's people that do the muscle-ups unbroken, but they get to the barbell. Like me, I remember me and Elise really got buried on that workout. We were doing a squat clean every, 15 seconds where there's people next to us going touch and go. And, years ago, that might have just been like, hey, the four of you get 48 muscle-ups, 48 squat cleans done. But now these workouts, and that's where the sport is evolving. They are trying to hide, like if you do have warts as an athlete, even on a team, it will get exposed at some point. Remember, there was a workout that had 60 pistols in that workout, and me and Matt were like, that's back when, I'm still not good at them, but I can pass them with them now. But back then, I was like, Matt, if I got to go 30 of these, we're screwed. And there was no minimum work requirement. I think Matt did all 60, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And
all 60.
Now, I think even now, the sport has evolved even further 3 years later. They would probably say, you got to go 10, you got to go 10, you got to go 10, because you don't want people getting to the highest level unable to do stuff.
It seems like it was more grid league specialist setup for the teams back then, and now everyone has to be a fairly complete athlete.
Yeah.
The other thing it seems like that's different is that back then you could have 6 really good athletes, put them together, and they do well. Now there seems to be a lot of coordination. Like you actually have to train together on all of these workouts in order to be efficient and get your transitions right and not screw each other up.
For sure.
And all the synchro stuff too. It's like you can't just kind of jump in there and hope for the best. Like
Right.
we were training together so much that synchro was just kind of like it was like, you know, you don't really have to put much thought into it. But if you go with like another, like I did Wodapalooza this past year with 2 people I've never worked out with, and it was our first time meeting together. So it's like synchro is difficult then.
Yeah.
You don't know how the timing is. Someone's taller, someone's shorter. It's like that makes a whole world of a difference too.
What kind of programming were you guys following back then? Were you all on your individual and then you would just train together, and who would come up with this stuff, or what?
We did Invictus for a while, right?
So no, we were all following
Regional.
sports specific.
Yeah, sports specific. You were with that guy, right?
Mike.
Now here's the question: when you guys you had a coach for your team, was that 17 and 18? Because I remember what happened in 18. Well,
With a coach?
Yeah. You guys didn't start working with the coach in 18 until after regionals were made. So it was after the opens. It was basically 6
Yeah.
weeks of regional prep. So
Yeah, you're right. I remember
because this
that.
is an interesting topic that I think this is where competing on a team, a lot of people don't see. It's a struggle to map things out, especially if you have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, right? If you're not on the same program, that's fine, I think. But when you guys know that you're getting together Saturday, Sunday, and obviously you're going to be doing the same thing, everyone wants to know what you're doing that Saturday, Sunday, because it's going to impact their Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe even the day after. And if you're trying to be smart about, you know, not doing too many repetitive movement patterns or keep your hands fresh or not squat too much or my knee aches, right? I think a real team that is really, truly in it needs to be on the same exact program for, I would say, the majority of the year. Just for the sake of that, when you do show up together, you're all kind of feeling the same way. Everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. So yeah, like if Matt and I are very like polar opposite athletes, like if he needs to work on something, it's probably not something I need to work on, and then vice versa. So I think that's where the struggle of a program comes in. And I think that's where I think all high level teams should have a coach, and they just kind of map that all out. Like, hey, I know these guys are going to be together on the weekend. I'll map out Matt's Monday through Thursday, Nicole's Monday through Thursday, and Dave's Monday through Thursday. They're going to kind of be similar, but I'm going to make sure they're all feeling the same way Saturday, Sunday. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree that it's how it should be. I definitely don't think we were doing it.
No,
that
definitely
way.
not. Definitely not. Yeah.
I honestly, I don't remember. I know at one point we were all following, and I think it was 2018. We were all like, we had the sports specific power. We were doing at
Like
least the
Dave
workouts
said.
together, but I don't know. Like you said, it was a Tuesday night, and I was at my old gym, and
Right.
I don't even know where you were training.
We could fast forward to 2018 a little bit, because I think we could probably all kind of contribute to the conversation a little bit in terms of what we did as a team. And that was the first time I was on a team that in 2018, I know that we got together every Saturday, Sunday, and I believe it was Tuesday nights that we met at Coliseum. And a lot of the time, so we would show up around the same time every Tuesday. We'd kind of do a little strength piece or skill piece in that back room or lift before class. But then we would do a class WOD. That happened a lot. Remember, we would do a Coliseum class WOD. Like the 6 of us would be in class together with their 6 o'clock class, whatever it was. And we always had to kind of, I don't think we ever like argued about it, but it was always a lot of back and forth on like, all right, like what are we doing? What should we do? What should we do? And, you know, I think that the most important part was that we were all there together, just getting after it, right? And like that, I do remember that was probably the fittest I'd ever been. And I was kind of on Bison program. I was on my own next level, and I was on this thing, Coliseum, you know, the Coliseum training team. And yes, were there a few things that I probably did too much of because I was on 3 different things? Yeah, but I still feel like that's when I really started to dive into it's more important. The people are more important than the program.
I'm a
Yeah.
big advocate of that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You can be good as long as you push yourself. It does not matter what you're doing. Stop
right.
buying into, I need this program.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
don't.
that's a big talk now with the training camps, right? Savant's podcast just had Patrick Vellner on.
Yeah.
And Patrick Vellner was like, it looks
Yeah.
like these training camps were a bad idea. They're all starting to blow up now. And it's really, it's such a deep conversation, but I do think that there's a lot of truth behind the program is not as important as the people you're around.
Agreed.
So let's touch on the 2018 process. So this is now your, you know, just to backtrack, 2016, just missed it. 2017, you got in, you're around 15th place. 2018, that's when the year that the CrossFit announced after we all came together, I was going to be your next guy.
Yeah, how did you meet these guys and get involved with them? Sounds like you were kind of the hanger-on, like they were like killing it, and you were just like,
oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Dallas
Dallas kind of brokered the deal, we were both going to go up there with them.
Yeah, but how did we know? How did we?
I forget
Dallas.
I forget how that happened.
Maybe the bison competition that we did.
The Bison Classic, first Bison Classic.
Yeah.
First or second?
The first one was the one that I didn't know you guys. You guys came and like you tore it up. I actually knew you back in 2015. I remember talking to her at Steel Fit. Remember that Steel
I
Fit?
don't remember.
Yeah.
Matt says the same thing. He says
That's
we
where
talked.
I met my wife at Steel Fit.
Oh yeah,
I don't remember. He was in scaled.
Dan.
I didn't.
I was. I came in second
Pay no
place.
attention.
Second place at Steel Fit. And
Scaled.
I won money. She didn't win anything.
But I remember telling Nicole back then. I think this was 2015. But whatever. I was like, Nicole. I was like, you don't know me, but you go to a gym near where my gym is, and I was like, you're gonna be very good if you stick with this stuff. And here you are.
It was 2015. It was.
Yeah. So
That was my second scale comp.
But long story short, like we kind of came together, and Dallas and I were both going to go onto this team. We are all going to go for it. Dallas and I were always trying to find a way to get to regionals. We weren't good enough individually, and we said like, hey, I wonder if there's a team out there. That it was hard to find like-minded individuals that wanted to pursue that. And then CrossFit announced that it was going to be a team of four people, 2 guys, 2 girls instead of 6. And Dallas and I kind of looked at each other like, oh, that stinks. Dallas was kind of on the fence regardless because living in Hoboken, it was going to be really tough for him to get there. So I think he kind of took one for the team there and said like, Dave, you go. And it was like, you better make it though. And I was like, all right. So we went out there and once we found out there were already 3 guys, it got a little awkward, right? There's 3 guys and 3 girls, and there was only 2 guys and 2 girls that were going to go, but we were all on the same team, and they used 3 guys and 3 girls for the open scores to make regionals. So everyone's scores were still needed, but we came up with it. We just said whoever has the highest open rank on the website goes to the regionals.
That's true?
I remember this. Yeah.
Chris Graham was one of the scores for the lift.
Why would they do that?
Because the team is still 3 guys and 3 girls, but one of them is an alternate.
Alternates?
Yeah, so like that's basically if you go look at the leaderboard from back then for the
don't
open.
remember that.
There's 3 guys, 3 girls.
How did you meet the qualifications for Coliseum Strength anyway? Because it was still kind of affiliate cup-ish, right?
Right, yeah.
So you had to spend X amount of time there.
Yep. So I had to train there 3 days a week. So you had to train there 50% of your training time, so 6 days a week or more. So I would go up every Tuesday night, every Saturday, every Sunday, and there were weeks where I would also go up Thursday by myself and train at Coliseum by myself.
It's so funny. That's still an issue for teams now.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that
team
guy?
got thrown out. What country was it?
I don't remember.
It was somewhere in
Europe, but
Yeah.
he didn't make enough. He didn't provide enough evidence, so
Yeah.
they
He also
disallowed
lived
him.
like 90 miles or something. He
It was
lived pretty far.
it was a distance.
Not saying that.
Yeah.
They didn't
I
follow
mean,
the
think
rules,
about
but-
Kristen. She was down at Tums River. Like,
Yeah.
technically was okay, and she really did that 2+ hour drive every time.
I mean, I was a 40-minute drive. I wasn't that far, 40 to 45-minute drive to them. And again, life was a lot easier back then when you don't have a kid. Like you can just hop up there for a couple hours and come back. But we took pictures, and I remember I downloaded all these apps to prove, like with timestamps on and dates that would automatically go on
We
the
were
picture that
crazy
you took.
about it.
I think we still have that.
Instagram?
Instagram.
Yeah, and
Team Coliseum Strength 2018.
Yeah.
We had 2.
We got 141 followers. You can still go through all of our pictures if anyone wants to go down and look at it.
Now,
Crazy.
were you confident that you're going to be one of the top open scorers aggregate for the guys?
Yeah, I was. And, and this is what made it awkward. And it's funny, like Dan's one of my neighbors now. It was Dan, myself, and Matt were the 3 guys. And we knew that 2 of us were going to go and 1 of us was not going to go. And it never got to the point where we had distaste for each other, and I'm glad it never did. I mean, and this is part of where I wanted to touch on, like the whole team competing. I've pushed myself hard as an individual. I've never pushed myself as hard as I was when I was on that team. And it wasn't because of my goal, even though, yes, I wanted to compete at regionals and try to make the games on a team, right? It was that same thing what Matt said earlier. You don't want to let the other guys down. But then the extra intensity came from not only were we trying to make it as a team, and we were very confident we were going to, even though we were still petrified and nervous, right?
You guys always are. Same thing.
But you also felt like you had to beat the other guys. And I knew I was a better open athlete, conditioning-wise, gymnastic-wise, general CrossFit than Dan. But Dan was so strong, and there's so much value in having a strong lifter on a team. Enormous. And trust me, I am years later still saying like that's the biggest separator between myself and where I want to be. But I always knew the open workouts, generally speaking, there's not that much lifting.
Right.
You know, it's conditioning, gymnastics, move your body well.
It's supposed to be more accessible anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And the workout, it's 18.1 went well, 18.2 went well, but 18.2A was a 1 rep max clean after a workout, a nasty workout. And it was one of those like post squat workouts, like your legs are shaking, you're trying to hit a 1 rep max clean. And I got some of that. I think I hit 286 and Dan hit 328. And it's funny, just guys in the Northeast, just the Northeast region. I think if I remember this very well, I came in like 900th place and Dan came in like 24th. So there was 900 guys between me and him, between 328 and 286. And basically that was like a margin. This is where it got awkward being on the team. This is where you have to be humble about it. Was I basically knew after that second week, it would be impossible to make up the margin. Impossible. Even if I came in first place, you know, which you never would, but you still had to like do your best on every single workout because the team was still nervous about not making it. And I knew they would need my scores, you know, in 2 of the next 3 workouts. But I think that kind of matures you a little bit. That, you know, I think everyone when they start CrossFit, especially guys when you start CrossFit competing, there's some immaturity there, you know, like I'm better than him, he's better than this, blah, blah, blah. But then at that point, it's like, hey, we got to get this team to regionals. And so like those workouts, it became about the team and not about you making it. No, but that was the fittest I'd ever been. And it was because of training with those guys and also for those guys.
Yeah.
I remember hearing this story, and I never fully realized that you still sent it for the rest of the workouts, even though individually you didn't have an incentive to. But for the team, you did, even though you knew there was no chance that you were going to go.
No chance. Do you remember that workout, the 21-15-9 deadlifts, handstand push-up, and then 3:15 deadlifts, handstand walk? I did that workout 3 times in 3 days.
To be fair,
to get our rank better.
I didn't, as being one of the competitors too, I wasn't like, oh, I'm safe.
Yeah. No,
I did not think that. I still, and again, maybe it was like I wasn't really thinking, but like you don't ever want to think like that. Like I could bomb this workout.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you can do really good. And
or
and
someone
make
could
up
get
the points.
hurt. You always have to like kind of.
I'm sure Dan
that
felt
too.
the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. I just know the sport so well. Like I kind of know when you're in it and when you're out. You know, unless something bad happens, all right, to someone, and you don't want to as bad as you want that. You never want something bad to happen to anyone, especially when you're on a team with them. So
That's a great team lesson. I love that.
no, it was that was a really cool experience. And then I also got to be a part of their training for regionals. That's when they took on sports specifics coach. It was once we kind of made regionals as a team, you kind of knew, Elise and I both knew that we were going to be the alternates. And then it was Julie, Nicole, Matt, and Dan. And like at the end of the day, like you felt like it was a responsibility to help them train for it. Like they had to do all the fun team stuff, like the synchro, the worm, right?
Freddie.
And that's at Great White right now, by
What's
the way.
Freddie?
Freddie's our worm.
The
nickname.
worm.
You ever seen him? He's been here. The green worm.
The
Yes,
green worm.
I do remember him
His
in the
name's Freddie.
back.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that, and then that year, you guys we finished the Open, I want to say, was it like top 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you guys started
Sam could
off.
check.
You guys
I don't remember
started
what we
off
finished, but-
regional weekend in that final heat, right? In like the number 1 heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then then you came in. I think it was 12th for the weekend, and then that was it. No more regionals.
Sad.
Yeah, that was the last year. So you guys
I
have
can't
been.
find it.
You can't find. But I think you're right. We did really well.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah.
finished 12th that year.
In the
and-
At regionals.
Yeah, in regionals.
In the Open, I'm pretty sure we were fifth in the
And it's
region.
partly probably because we all were just fighting so hard for that spot.
Yeah, we went so hard.
Yeah. And that East Regional was a really good regional. I mean, the winner was Invictus Boston, and they had Tola Morquinho, who's still competing on teams for Iceland, right?
Yeah.
With Annie Thor's daughter. And then you had CrossFit Reebok 1 with, Spencer Hendel, Austin Maliolo, and all those guys. Why did Team East Woodbridge get DQ?
They had one of their females tested positive.
Oh, no
for
way.
something. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
know that.
Real quick too, just to point out that as much as Dave wants to say it was because of him, the girls like absolutely destroyed it. Like I remember Nicole may have been the first female out of making as an individual. Julie was like right behind her.
So
And that's, now that you say that, that's what we were kind of hoping that would happen because,
Right.
me, Julie, Elise, we're all such good friends that we didn't want anyone to be left out. So me and Julie were like, maybe we can make it. Like,
Yeah.
we both were right there, and obviously it didn't end up happening, but that's what like the hope was.
So like if if Nicole or Julie made regionals as an individual, they could choose to go compete by themselves, and then Elise, the alternate. That's why you have an alternate.
Elise
would come in and
to
compete.
backfill that spot.
So like we're all there, obviously.
Would you have done that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And
Now, would you have done
we
that
knew.
because you wanted Elise to get her opportunity, or
Yeah.
because you wanted because would you have been okay with being the one that's by yourself, an individual?
I mean, for like Elise to be able to go, and
Yeah.
I remember us talking about that. Like
Right.
I would want, all of us to be there, as
Right.
many as we can at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, we knew that was what was going to happen. If
Yeah.
like me or Julie, once we saw how close we both were, that was the plan. Like we knew.
And
You
to
finished
me,
31st in the Northeast that year in the Open.
And they took 30.
I think they took 30, like with like backfills and everything.
So
but like
close.
that was like the gold standard. I know obviously the games is the gold standard, but like at our competitive level, I think like anytime I heard like someone was like an individual regional athlete, like let's say starting in 2016, because
Yeah.
no offense, but like making it in 2013 was
A little different. Yeah.
But I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
gold standard.
Big
Like
time.
wow, you're that. You're this level.
Right.
So
Yeah.
being even that close is incredible.
Right. Yeah.
And
So-
Castro mentioned that a lot of affiliate owners want to bring back the regionals
I was
on
literally
some
just
level.
Good. I was just going to bring that back because
I didn't know that.
that year was the last regionals. It got announced in 2019 that it was out. What did that do to kind of take the wind out of your sails?
I don't even think I did the Open that year.
There was
completely.
There was
just,
one
like,
year where I skipped the Open too. I still did the workouts, but like I did not sign up
Maybe it was
for whatever
2020.
reason it
2020.
was.
2020.
Yeah, because it was like, what's the point, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't to boycott or anything. Like I don't want to come off
Yeah.
like I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, what's the point? Like we weren't training, so it was after French Throwdown. We just had nothing to train for.
Yeah.
No regionals, no like Open, no
Yeah.
big competitions.
Yeah,
coming
and
up.
don't get me wrong, the Open in 2017 or even 2016, because we were, I know you weren't involved, but like
Yeah.
there was 5 guys, and we
Yeah.
were still competing for 3 spots. I was stressed out. Those were the worst 5 weeks of the year.
You
for me.
lost
And
weight
he
every
gets
year.
weird.
during the
Those were
Open.
Worst 5 weeks of the year. Every day I was like, oh my god, don't wake up with a cold, or like I'm gonna get bronchitis.
would make him sick.
I
He
literally
got
gave myself
sick.
bronchitis.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was 2017 or 2018, but I was like, I have bronchitis. I went to the Med-Emerge after Coliseum one night. I go, I need to get good. I need the Open, but yeah, I hated when the Open actually mattered.
Yeah, and that was a huge thing. I remember as an affiliate owner when the regionals was gone. As a competitor, I was like, that kind of sucks because that's like a huge thing I wanted to pursue through the Open. But also as an affiliate owner, I knew how important the Open was for our gym. And I know that 99% of people don't give a shit about regionals. So in my eyes, I was like, this shouldn't impact anything, but I knew it would. Because whether it was realistic or not, regionals was a driving force behind a lot of people that wanted to do the Open, and that increases the energy in every gym. Whether people, and I think it's subconscious for a lot of people, that I really do feel like the competitive side for some people in the Open, it elevates everyone else in the gym for those 3-4 weeks, and you kind of do it together. And I remember thinking like, this is going to be the end of CrossFit. And I was trying so hard to like convince people. There were some people in our gym that were upset about it that had no shot at regionals. But again, it wasn't about their shot at regionals. It was more like maybe this big long-term dream that was in their head. And when you don't have long-term goals, it's hard to stay motivated and in the ball game. And I think 2019 is the year you guys didn't do it because that was March of 2019. And then I think it was that fall, the October is that one year where we did it in the fall. So basically there's a 2019 Spring Open and then a 2019 Fall Open, but that was called the 2020
Gotcha.
Open. All
Yep,
right.
yep.
So is that the one you didn't do, the 2021?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now but you guys did eventually find some competitive outlets. Like we did the French Throwdown together, right?
Now, was that before or after that Open?
That was 2019 spring summer that we did the French Throwdown.
Okay, so before.
The Fall Open.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's the one I think you guys didn't do a few
Yeah,
months later.
yeah.
That was still a path to the games, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It
that
was,
was the
yeah.
first one.
It was. Yeah.
Yep.
That was there.
That was the sanctional
They were called
year.
sanctionals
Yeah.
back then. So you guys still like, and I bring that up because you found ways to still pursue that top end goal, that team competing, the elite level competing, and I give you guys credit for that because I think a lot of people kind of walked away. I know some people personally that kind of walked away from CrossFit at that point and then never came back. And now here we are again. There's discussion of Dave Castro potentially bringing it back. And he said he was surprised how many affiliate owners has said that was a huge community event that you guys kind of stripped out from under our feet for no good reason. Do you guys think it's going to come back? Do you think it should come back?
I would be happy for it to come back. Not even just like personally. I don't know. I think it's like it was just like a community like driving for something. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even know that was like in the talks.
I think there's no perfect answer, no matter what. Like, you remember people with regionals were moving like, oh, I got to move to the Southwest. That regional is weak, man. I can make it as an individual. Or like, the Northwest, whatever it was. It's like, no matter what, people are going to game the system.
For sure.
There's something about like being in this area. Like, I'm in the Northeast. Like we're going to Albany or wherever it is. Like, it was cool. It was awesome going to the Times Union Center. Like, that was probably like, other than definitely competition wise, like that was the two best competitions I've ever done. I mean, granted, being in Miami in January and everything, but putting that aside, like just pure competition, it's like this is like. It's first class. You just felt like, you felt first class. You felt elite, no matter what.
Right.
So, I mean, I'd love to have that back. But.
And I just think it's something that gives a lot of young people, like I think one thing CrossFit's not completely cognizant of is there's not as many young people doing CrossFit as there were 10 years ago. And I think you have a lot of people that, would be driven to try and cross it out, training really hard in like their teens and 20s if regionals were a thing. And I think like I noticed this now, and I've talked to a couple people that run competitions, local competitions. The numbers are not what they used to be. Like they used to run a comp and get minimum 100 people sign up in 3 days, and now it's like you would run to these comps and there's 4 heats of 5 teams, and it's like, hey, if you sign up, you're probably gonna be on the podium, because there's only 3 teams in your division. And I think that's something that CrossFit long term, you're not going to get as many young people involved. It's an expensive membership, but I think a lot of people that were young, like when I was in my 20s, like that was one of the main reasons why I did it. And I know there were several others that did it as well. And I think that it brings out a lot more camaraderie too.
I just think the online quarterfinals are not a good substitute. Like, you got to have something in person that's real,
agree.
And that just means so much more.
Are you talking strictly from like competition, like level is like, to make things fair, or just because it's not in person?
For the experience, just in person. Okay. I mean, I know we've all competed on the online side, either in the open or quarters or whatever, and it's just not the same. It's not the same. Yeah. And I mean, especially if you're a elite level athlete, you should have something to shoot for where because like you said, that gold standard experience is something that I know you've always wanted to feel, just like really. Yeah. And I can only imagine if I was a younger athlete and I was good or improving, I would be like, boy, what would it be like to really be out on that floor like that? For sure. I don't know if I can make the games because they only have a few number of people, but if I could get there.
Right.
Yeah. It's a surreal experience,
and
that's for sure.
It felt much more realistic to get to when it was divided up by your region, right? They did play around with the numbers a lot. It was top 60, top 40, top 30, top 15, right? But when you're competing against guys just in your region, you're trying to, let's say it's, the number's 30, you're trying to make the top 30 guys in your region. That just seems much more attainable than trying to finish top 125 in all of North America, right? And that's basically the only way you're going to get past online competition now is the top 125 out of everyone in Canada, United States, and Mexico. And it's just doesn't seem realistic. And I think it closes the door on a lot of people's dreams, and it kind of pushes them away. Where if CrossFit could find a way to open up that door and give more people, whether it's by state, and make the numbers a little bit lesser, make it by region again, I just think it would open up a huge business opportunity for them, but also it would increase the baseline of what CrossFit is.
What made you guys decide to do the French Throwdown together anyway?
I mean, basically, I think that it was we Matt, myself, Nicole, and Elise at the time were actually like really good friends as well. Like, we competed each other, but we also like hung out. We went out a lot. It was fun. And we found we wanted to go also on a trip. like on a vacation. And then it turned into like, well, why don't we go on a vacation and try to compete at one of these?
Of course, because why not?
Yeah, we're not normal. So we looked at all of these different international sanctionals at the time, and we're like, all right, would we want a vacation somewhere near there? Does it kind of, open up, do the dates align with what we have to do work-wise with your schedule, my schedule, Nicole's schedule? And I think there was only 2 options that really worked out. And French Throwdown, we just thought looked like a cool competition, and it was near Italy. We were like, we can just go to Italy right after and vacation together. And that's what we ended up doing. We just that was literally the decision-making process, is let's try to make it sanctional. That's overseas. We can vacation near, and the dates line up.
You guys were shockingly close, actually. They took the top 5 to go to the games, and you guys were 11th.
Yeah, we were 11th, and honestly, I think we were even closer than that because I blew up on the last event, the snatch event. We were like I think 8th going to that event.
We were doing really well.
7th
We're
or
like,
8th.
wait a second.
Yeah,
We had a lot of hiccups. A lot of hiccups. They're involved sprinting, post-workout for inhalers.
Yeah.
What was that?
So we could touch on the experience a little bit in France. It was the worst heat wave I think they had in 50 years. At that time, and we went out and sight saw in Paris for 3-4 days after. Looking back on it, maybe not the best thing in the world to do right before the comp. I don't think it impacted us that much, but it was so hot, so we were just constantly outside sightseeing and no air conditioning out there.
It's Europe.
They
No one has air
such
conditioning.
I was not happy about that. And that one of the events, the first event that we had with the worm, was also with chest bars. Basically thrusters with the worm, and that's basically 4 people doing thrusters with a 380-pound bag, and with synchro chest bars. So we're just going back and forth. It's like really hard Fran. And the room, we felt like the room that we were in was 95 degrees.
It was that velodrome.
Was it a velodrome? They used
right.
for. I think they've had the Olympics there before.
Like the
Olympic,
bike race.
yeah.
But like it's at the bike racing, and yes, there was no air conditioning.
No air
so
conditioning in there.
It was very, very hot.
Like
humid.
picture what the gym is right here at Bison right now without any fans on in the middle of summer. Like that kind of
closed,
Yeah,
just
like
like-
you just don't have any air to breathe. No moving air. And Nicole, after that event, Nicole basically passed out on the floor. They were like rushing us off the floor so the next he could get on, and Nicole was not doing well. Like she couldn't breathe. So Matt had to run a quarter mile basically to get her inhaler, and came back in, and we were almost like, I think we're done. I think we're out of the competition. Like she's going to have to go to the hospital tonight, and she stuck it out.
This was the first event?
First
No,
day. I think
first day. It definitely wasn't the first event. First event was the paddle.
Yeah.
board.
Yeah.
Run. But needless to say, too, we just got to touch on it. Like, yeah, they'll talk about the paddleboard. They had trainers there, and obviously the language barrier. They had no idea. I'm like, inhaler. Meanwhile, I'm sucking wind too. We just finished the event. The guy's looking at me like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about because I didn't say it in French. So now I'm sprinting to this tent, trying to find her inhaler. I have no idea where it is in the bag. I'm worried at the time.
Oh, poor you.
She's just my girlfriend, but still, I care about it. So
Wow.
yeah.
Yes. That first day, we actually ended up doing decent in that
Yeah.
event, and Matt and
The
Elise.
first one they won.
Yeah, there was the
Where
first.
else we were involved.
We were in
we were
first
involved.
place after the first event.
Right. And it was basically because Matt and Nicole ran, Matt and Elise ran 6 miles really, really fast.
6 miles?
Wasn't it 6?
Yeah, it was a 10K, right? A little more than a 10K, I think.
Yeah.
What was our run? I couldn't remember.
A mile.
800?
800? No, I think it was
No,
close
you
to
guys
a
ran
mile.
more than that.
It was
Yeah,
close
yeah.
to a mile. Basically, Nicole and I started off the event by running a mile through the woods, kind of. We got to a paddleboard, and we were allowed on our knees. We had to paddleboard around a buoy, I don't know, about 100, 200 meters out. And then I took a wrong turn somehow.
I look out and I see this guy like across the lake, like going near no one. I'm like, whose partner is that? And I was like, oh
Yours?
gosh. It's my
That's Dave.
teammate.
So the event, I pulled it up. It's male-female pair 1, 1.5 kilometer run, 500 meter paddle, 1.5 kilometer run. Then pair 2, male-female, does an 8.5 kilometer run.
Okay.
So we basically, I think Nicole and I came back like in 5th place from that first part, and then Matt and Elise just
didn't do that
You
bad.
guys were
Gross.
not in 5th place. We passed at least 10 teams on that run.
10 people,
No.
which is 5 teams. We're not 10th place. We'll go back to the videotape. It's on YouTube somewhere. But that was like, that's when Rory was there. He was one of the commentators, I think. And
Rory
he was
McKernan?
like, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, Team Fratley is in first place. And, so we started off that competition really well. We had a couple like highs and lows, like Matt was saying. We got buried in a squat clean event. We got buried in the snatch event. I got buried in the 200 double under event. But that competition though was so much fun in that it was so foreign to us, no pun intended, like language barrier. We were around some of the biggest names in the sport at the time.
Yeah, CrossFit Mayhem Independence was there. Invictus Boston, Nova 3. All these guys were on point.
I mean, they're still at the games right now, some of these guys.
Yeah.
Like, we're watching them compete, and it's really cool. And I think that it brought out the best in us. But what I liked most about the training for that and also the competition was, like, you really, like, went numb a lot when you were training to compete or actually competing. Because, again, you weren't doing it for yourself. Like, you really didn't care. Like, when you're competing by yourself or training by yourself, you start to feel bad for yourself. Oh, this is so hard. I can tap the brakes right now. I can tap the brakes because you're not hurting anyone else.
Yeah.
But when you feel that burden of, like, if I tap the brakes real quick, I'm going to hurt them. There was an event where it was
Sumo deadlift
the
high
sumo
pull.
deadlift one and the shoulder overhead. It was a guy-girl pair. Was it 10 rounds?
It says 5 rounds, 15 synchro sumo deadlift high pulls, 50 kilos, 35 kilos, then 15 shoulder to overhead synchro.
Yeah.
Then pair 2,
Does
male,
the same
female.
thing.
But it was different, right?
No, it was the same. 15, yeah, you guys did the same thing. 15 synchro sumo
Yeah.
deadlift high pulls, and
Yeah, I
then
remember
15
that.
shoulder to overheads.
It was the same?
Time
Okay.
cap 15 minutes.
So Nicole and I went first, and we had this plan in our head to kind of break things up right from the start, and we actually did really well. Like, we were like, and that was a fun event because you can kind of feel out where you were with everyone else. And that was like a 115-75 barbell for us in pounds. So we were moving it pretty well, and that's kind of like classic CrossFit. We're good at classic CrossFit, and the last round, again, you're smoked going to the last round. And Nicole looks at me right before we start the last round. She goes, unbroken.
Dave's face, I've never seen him before scared.
Petrified. Like, again, but this is the example. Like, if Nicole was my coach and I was doing that workout as an individual and she goes unbroken, I'm like, dude, I can't do that. Like, there's no way. I need to break this up 10-5 again. But because you're doing it for a team, you don't listen to that voice in your head of saying it's too hard. And like, I think it's like an out of body experience, and that's why I hope anyone listening can, like, we have the Bison Bowl here coming up at Bison in a couple weeks, and a lot of people have never competed for. They don't want to, and they're scared. They're petrified. I think if you can allow yourself to really kind of go into it with that mindset that you're really doing it for other people, you're not doing it for yourself, you're going to get much more out of it.
Yeah, it changes it completely. I think also because we were all such good friends,
Yeah.
it like just made it even more. You don't want to let anyone
Yeah.
down. Like,
You never-
you'll literally, like, not necessarily kill yourself for
Right,
them,
yeah.
but like, go as hard as you possibly can.
And it was healthy pressure. It was pressure that, like, you really wanted to do this for them. Like, it wasn't like, oh man, like, this person's gonna yell at me if I F up. Like, I had 2 really, really bad events. And like, I never won. Like, the guilt that I felt was so bad, but I never felt like those guys were like mad at me or like, oh, why'd we bring Dave? Maybe they did. But like, that's kind of like that's the perfect situation. If you're looking for like a team, or just like, if you want to stay out of the sport, you want people to train with on Sundays at open gym, those are the people you want to train with. It's the people that push you, but they don't put pressure on you to the point where if you fail, you're going to feel like you let someone down.
Yeah. And you held, I tell you this all the time, but your composure during that snatch event was like bar none. Like, it was incredible.
No, I know.
I would have had the belt throw, some profanity in there probably, but
I mean, no one would have understood it out there anyway.
Look at this guy.
that's true.
Let's fuck me. But yes, and that was, so let's touch on this. The individual side. Do you guys have any desire right now to compete individually?
No.
Because
So-
Nicole just made quarterfinals.
yeah, on the individual side this past year.
Yep.
And it was not fun. Like going into it, I was like, I mean, we have no other, team is so hard to find people around, and girls are just so hard to find.
Let's
I
talk
don't know
about
why.
that. What makes a team hard to put together?
I think the girls.
Elite women.
So
Yeah.
now, I mean, CrossFit makes it harder. So you have to be an affiliate, right? You have to be a part of that gym.
Yes.
Right?
And I think, is it now 50 miles?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to,
It's 50 or 100?
I thought it was 50. I could be wrong.
Whatever it is.
Doesn't matter.
It's still like, it's enough miles where like, let's say an hour.
Right.
Like you find anyone in that, but there's just like, we've like done it. We've looked around. We're like, there's nobody really around. And,
Right.
and I don't want anyone to take offense to that.
No,
but,
no offense taken whatsoever.
like, and
We've talked. So they were on our Bison team last year in the Open, and we tried to run it back, right? And then you guys got COVID, but even then, it was so hard to line up schedules for them to get here enough to train us together to be on same programs. We had a kid at the time. Like everything was just so tough to line up. And like, I think that's what everyone needs to know, that if there is a desire to compete on a team, you have to find the people that are really ready to put down everything, 3 to 4 days a week, like no excuses. And if you can't, it's not worth it.
Yep.
But Nicole, you said it's hard to find the girls.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Again, like you said, I mean, one, the skill level, and no offense to, just anyone in the area, reach out if you want to. And then just lining up, do they want to go team? Like some people just want to strictly do individual. Do the schedules match up? And then the guys, sometimes they're tied to 2 guys.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it's just a lot to line up. But team is just so much more fun. Like doing quarters alone. It's like, I'm doing it for myself, which I don't know. For some people, it's enough to want, but doing it for a team is a whole nother just level. It wasn't fun.
Is there more or less pressure to competing for a team that needs your scores or by yourself?
More.
Yes.
Because again, you're letting down them.
So
if I let down myself,
it's like a
on me.
catch-22. Like I like competing individual because I feel like if I F up, I just screw myself over. And I can live with that. I can sleep with that. But sometimes I think the stress is higher when you feel like you let someone else down. And as much what's the difference? You have more fun with the team, no question. But you also feel a bit more pressure, a little bit more stress with the team.
Yeah.
And I think that every individual out there, you're going to have to kind of figure that out. What do you want to deal with more? What do you want to deal with less?
Yeah.
I do real quick want to just tie in. I don't know when you want to talk about it, but our individual experiences at her at Granite Games
Let's do it now.
and me at Wodapalooza.
Yeah.
Because I think those two are a very good.
That Wodapalooza, yeah.
So that was, again, I think it was 2018.
Yep.
So
Yep.
January 2018,
Yep.
right after regionals, I felt like I was in great shape. I actually looked up on the way here how many events. So it was 8 events. Technically, I think they scored 9, but it was one of those the very first workout was a 7K run, and then there was a rec bag mile within the run. So it was 9 scored events, but
one
it's,
workout, 2 scores.
8 events over 3 days.
Got it.
And I competed in the RX division. So there was the elite and then there was the RX. So I was even the step down. When that weekend was over, I thought my body was broken.
Yeah.
I have never, ever in my life been so sore. I think I was even sore. So the event started on Friday, on Saturday morning. Just after that, I go, how am I going to do this?
Right.
And I remember there was a bar complex on Sunday. They waited. It was called the Progenics bar complex, and it was 3, 2, 1.
Yep. I remember that.
Or 245. Yeah, 225,
okay.
245, 265.
Yep.
It was hang cleans, front squats, shoulder to overhead.
Yep.
I was in the warm up area, and I'm like, I can't do this with 135.
Yeah.
How am I going to do this? I did it at Coliseum. I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. 2 minutes. Whatever.
Says it like that too.
Meanwhile, I got cacked in the workout. But it's just those, just from an individual standpoint, and obviously it's always going to depend on what the programming is, but
The demand's higher.
I was wrecked. And I've never felt like that at any team comp, regionals,
Yep.
French Throwdown, whatever we've competed on a team, local level comps.
So that's a good thing for someone listening to take on. If you're in that position where you're trying to figure out team and individual, the individual is probably more physically demanding. The volume's going to be higher.
No doubt.
And you don't get to rely on anyone else. So if you're just looking at workouts, strict workouts, individual team, the working period, the time in which you're working is going to be much more than you are on a team. Because obviously on team workouts, there's a lot of interval. It's very interval styled, right? And synchro styled. The volume and the time under tension as an individual will be a lot higher. And, if you're trying to sustain long-term health, right? That's going to be something you have to think about.
Yeah, and just for the record, the last event I beat Justin Medeiros.
Ooh, really? Are you serious?
Oh,
So
yeah.
Medeiros was in RX that
He was
year?
in RX
He
in
probably was like
2018.
12.
Yeah, he was. I think he was like 19 years old. But
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
That's a plug,
You never
yeah.
told me that. That's
right.
Nice.
Sup?
What place did he come in?
I think he got like second or,
Okay.
or like
nice. What place did you come in? Do you remember?
no.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Don't remember. Not
But
that
he remembers beating
I
me in the
remember beating-
workout an hour ago. Yeah.
good. Yeah.
That's
I won't
awesome.
forget that for sure. but-
That's so cool, dude. That's what actually Nicole. Your experience at Granite, you actually did pretty well out there, didn't you?
No,
I thought-
I was just trying to survive at the end.
Was it the same thing? Like same experience?
It was 4 days. So first individual competition, 4 days. I don't know what. I was not prepared.
Okay.
The first workout was, I don't remember if it started with the hill run or if that was second. But so the first day, it was GHD, some sandbag cleans, and then run up this enormous ski resort hill with the sandbag.
Talk about how they brought you there. It was like an off-site event. Like I couldn't even go
Yeah,
on.
yeah. I was like on a bus. Matt couldn't come watch, so I'm there alone. Obviously, don't know any of the girls, and this workout just wrecked me. I remember thinking, like, what am I doing here? And it's the first workout, first day. I'm like, this is gonna be miserable. And then they bring us to another site. We do an 800-meter swim, so like 5K row, and then some run through the woods. I remember I was cramping. My calf was cramping on the rower. I'm like, I am not ready for this weekend. So that was the start of the weekend, and
Now,
then
was your training leading up to it different?
yeah. So
Was that because you weren't on a team, just didn't have that same fuel?
I didn't even know I was going to do it until, like a couple weeks before when Matt found out that they were doing it. And then I was like, I reached out and I was like, well, I'm going to go anyway to watch Matt
Right.
and them.
Right, okay, yeah.
So I was like, let me see if they have any spots. So I listed out, I've been to regionals, blah, 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 because they're not just going to like let anyone.
Right.
And they ended up having someone drop out and they were
Okay.
like, yeah, you could come. So
It wasn't like a long-term training thing for
no.
you. Okay.
And yeah, so when I got there, I was like, this was a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? Was not ready training wise. Yeah, but I mean, it was definitely good for the experience.
Right.
You know, that whole individual, I haven't had anything like that since.
Yeah, so
it
it's
was
been a while.
brutal, though.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
There's so much more that goes into being an individual competitor at the
Yeah.
high level that people don't even realize. Like I was listening to it on a podcast the other day. An athlete, when they go to the games as an individual, their job is to show up and do the workout. Their manager or whatever you want to call it. Oh, I have all your food prepped. Oh, you're gonna get body work
Yeah.
here. Oh, we got an ice tub here for you. Oh, you're gonna nap at this time. Like literally, like your schedule is done. Like,
Yeah.
In the warm-up
all you do
area.
is breathe and work out.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
Right.
mean, I remember being in the warm up area, like looking around, like, what do I even do?
Yeah,
Like, I don't
we're
have
not
teammates.
prepared. We don't have I mean, we get better as the years go on, but this was so early on. It's like we had like maybe like a pudding and like an RX bar or
Yeah.
whatever it was, and like our protein
Like,
shake,
oh, we're ready.
good. Like
Yeah.
we didn't know like, oh my god, we need car. Like
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
you just know so much more.
Well, you
guess
have to.
more
Yeah, they're
experience
treating
you
you
get.
as a thoroughbred, and you're the racehorse, and the racehorse is not expected to do all of the logistical stuff. And I think that's the one thing I think with Piero when we talk to him, he's transitioning into that. I now have to have this
A support
this
system.
support system
Yeah.
around me in
For
order
sure.
to compete at that.
Yeah.
high level.
100%.
You need to.
100%. If you want your body to feel good, that's what half the game is how well can I recover to
Attrition.
the next day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How strong are you on the next day? Yep. I agree
sure.
with that. All right, so let's just wrap this up with where do you guys kind of see yourself in the sport? Like I know you guys just, life changes potentially coming up in the next couple of years, but are you guys still, and maybe advice to other people, you guys still train pretty hard, and in my opinion, and you're still very fit. You don't have to say it, I will. You're very fit. Now, Matt and I are competing together in September at the East Coast Classic. Do you guys, how important is it for you to kind of just keep your foot in the door a little bit, right? Maybe not train as hard as you did 2-3 years ago, but just keep that engine going for the sake of the fact that at some point an opportunity might come your way. Like, I mean, if I was a coach of an elite team and I needed a guy and a girl, I'd be hitting you guys up and say like, hey, next year we're looking for a guy and a girl. That opportunity might come your way at some point. How important for you, or does that fuel your training at all right now that, hey, something might come up that you don't really foresee coming?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like subconsciously we're still trying to.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it that way. Like in case an opportunity does come up.
Yep.
like, I didn't even know about the regional thing, but it's like, if that becomes real, it's like, all right, we want to kind of be ready.
Yeah.
Because I would want to,
Go for
like,
it.
throw it in. Yeah.
Go for it. Absolutely.
But yeah, right now, I mean, not doing anything insane. Like,
Yeah.
sure, we're like competitors, so we're just always going to kind of like have that, I think.
Yep.
At least for now, like you said, until like life gets in the way or whatever it might be. But yeah, still trying to stay in
Kind
it.
of keep that base wide. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing is keep your base there so that when you do need to amp it up.
Who do you follow programming wise, or do you guys? What do you guys do?
I do Mayhem, like just on the, the app, the Sugar Wab, the Mayhem thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like, so they have an aerobic capacity, and you had a
Hinshaw,
on.
yep.
I like, this is the whole reason I ended up doing Mayhem is because they have that piece of it.
Yes.
And I love that. Like, I'm not an endurance kind of person. Like Matt said, I like cleaning. I like lifting.
Yeah.
So I like having that and just going out and doing, I love their bike erg workouts. Like they have intervals and just getting on that. We got a bike erg. So just kind of throwing those pieces in. So I follow that. And then Matt, I guess follows that when I do it?
Yeah, I don't have a specific program. I'm not good with that. I should follow something, but like if I'm training with Nicole, I'm like, all right, what are we doing today? Like I'll follow Mayhem. And then like I'll take my gym's like workout of the day, or
We jump in there a good amount.
Like I said it back then. I know you have to you got to learn your body, but I'm very like if the workout, whatever you write down for the workout, you can get better. It's about how you push yourself. Like a lot of people are on this concept, and it's been probably talked about like, oh my God, I need a 20-minute AMRAP and I need to leave here sweating. My shirt needs to be drenched. Like that's not what it's always about. Like you can get good in 5 2-minute AMRAPs, or like, you can do grace and have a 3-minute workout, and it's okay.
Yeah.
That your body needs that.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't always obsess over.
You need to work
volume.
on sprints.
Yeah.
Like it those fast twitch fibers, like it's, to answer your question, I don't have a program.
Yeah. But Matt does well because he doesn't always I think he kind of auto programs himself to just say like, hey, I got to make sure there's days where I just lift, there's days where I go long, and there's days that I sprint, and you can sprinkle that with a bunch of different programs. He's more like a macro level program type guy. Like as long as I'm touching on everything big picture.
Yeah. Like I'll make sure like, hey, I snatched on Monday, like, hey, I need a clean Wednesday, or like obviously my deadlift, like I need a deadlift, or like, and then I always like to squat. So like I know I've been doing this long enough that I know I need to hit the lifts, and then conditioning, I just need to, conditioning is a big piece. So you just got to keep your conditioning.
That reminds me a lot of Pat Sherwood, the way he thinks about programming. He does linchpin programming, but he also is very practical about his programming.
Yeah.
And, I know you have a job in law enforcement, and you have to fit everything else around that too.
Sure.
So
there's a lot of difficulties with that for sure, especially like, it's 12-hour days, and especially, every like, whatever shift I'm working, like if I'm working the day shift, I need to be at work by like 6:15, which means I'm leaving my house at like 5:50. Which means if I want to do anything, I'm waking up at, I don't know, I think I usually get up at like 4:50, 5 a.m. And it's like a 30% a workout. And it's usually just me riding the bike very slowly, or like going for a run. And it's like those 4 days that I'm working, it's like I don't feel like I'm like getting better. I'm just like doing something to like
keep the blood going.
Yeah.
Right?
But Sherwood says just doing that is something.
As he says, like fitness was achieved, right?
Fitness was achieved.
All right. Well, thanks, man, Nicole. That was a lot of fun. I hope a lot of you guys got something out of that, just from the team side, the individual side, how you can blend the two, how you can go back and forth. And it sounds like we'll be having you guys on for another episode next week.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.